Hello and welcome to the latest installment of PSG Talking. I'm your host Ed, and on today's show, we're talking all about PSG's win over Lille. We're also going to touch on the media's coverage of the Kylian Mbappé contract situation. And we're also going to preview the match against Real Sociedad, and we've got so much more to get into. And here to help me do that, we have Ethan from PSG Fan Club Boise. Ethan, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Hey, can't complain. Big day for you tomorrow. Super Bowl, your 49ers prediction. Do we get a score prediction real quick?
Yeah, let's go like 27-24 Niners.
All right, I like it. And then we also have joining us, we have Eddie Razo. He writes for Ligon.com, also PSGTalk.com. Eddie, how are you doing?
Good. It's been a while since I've been on, so happy to be here again.
Absolutely. We pulled you away from the keyboard and in front of the microphone. Always good to get your thoughts on all things PSG. And I know you're a Bengals fan, but score prediction for the Super Bowl tomorrow?
I'm gonna go opposite of Ethan. I'm gonna go Chiefs. I think you just can't deny the dynasty there.
I'm just waiting for Usher at halftime. That's all I'm hoping for, as a good performance at halftime. All right, gentlemen, let's get right into it. I want to talk about this Lille match that literally just ended minutes ago. We're recording this Saturday afternoon. PSG, they win 3-1. And I think since the last time we recorded, we also, PSG beat Strasbourg and Brest in the Coupe de France. So you could touch on those, but I really want to stick to this Lille match. And Eddie, we could start with you. What did you like from this match, or maybe what didn't you like? Just kind of give us your overall thoughts, because I thought it was a pretty impressive win.
Yeah, I kind of like that they were able to, Leo scored, I think, 6 minutes into the game, so they got punched right in the face, right, from the get go. I like that they were able to respond to some type of adversity. They didn't, obviously, Mbappé has an ankle injury. I don't know to the extent of that. They were able to not too clear on that, but he's obviously suffering an injury. Didn't start the game. I guess you want to say worst case scenario. They gave the first goal, but I like the resilience. I like that they handled the adversity well. They didn't need to go to Mbappe. Minutes later, they get the equalizer. Minutes later, they get the own goal, and they hold on to that lead, and then they add the insurance goal in the second half. So I really like that. They were tested, and for the most part, passed. They that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how they were able to handle some adversity and didn't need to break the glass to bring out Mbappe to get the 3 points. Even then, I wouldn't have played him. I would there's a buffer where you don't need to risk him. Rest him, leave him for Wednesday. So I was glad that they were able to face adversity and overcome that 1-0 deficit to start the game early on.
Yeah, it's not something we're used to seeing as PSG squares, which is Mbappe on the bench. Even if he does have a slight knock, he usually is out there. So the fact that he was on the bench, that was surprising. Luis Enrique rotating the squad. He put Ramos out there, Fabian Ruiz in the midfield, Kolo Muani. He had Danilo Pereira on defense, Beraldo. And I thought it was interesting, Donnarumma also gets a rest with Keylor Navas in goal. So move some pieces around, put some players on, kind of shook things up a little bit, but yeah, getting Mbappe some rest there, because Ethan and I have talked about it on recent podcasts. He just is playing so many matches, and Mbappe himself has said, you can't expect me to be at my World Cup best every match because I'm playing so much. So it was nice that we didn't have to sort of break glass in case of emergency and bring him on to hopefully get a win. But Ethan, I thought that was a good point from you, Eddie. Ethan, what did you like, or maybe what didn't you like from this match?
Yeah, not a lot of things I didn't like. I think it was a great match. Outside of Eddie's points, I'm going to go with the fact that the pressing throughout the whole team was very strong the whole game, and it inadvertently caused, or it led to two of our goals, you could argue. And I tweeted this during the game, but that's kind of what can happen when you rotate the squad and you let guys who don't get a bunch of minutes, like Danilo. I mean, he's played a good amount, but like Mukiele, Gonçalo Ramos, who I've been so high on him the whole season, and I love that he had a great game today, especially against a team like Lille, who are still in Europe, and they're going to be in Europe again next year. So they're at least a Europa League quality team. Love the way that he played. I love that. We had 6 or 7 starters out, depending on who you name starters, and we didn't really seem to miss a beat. We were playing without Mbappe, clearly, but the way that we weren't reliant on him was really promising and good to see. I like how fluid the passing was. We've seen PSG teams in the past where Mbappe is not playing, and I just remember back to that Coupe de France match last season where Marseille knocked us out at the Velodrome down there on the south coast, and it was just Messi and Neymar as Mbappe was hurt. And even though this is Messi and Neymar, two of the best players in the world, they could not do anything. And it's just, in some of these games, we're so reliant on having Mbappe on the pitch, and that's what we've seen historically. And today it was nothing like that. We didn't miss a beat. Just really, really well-rounded attack. Dembélé as a 10 for a lot of the match was very strong. Kolo Muani had one of his best games of the season on the wing, of all things. He was on the wing for most of the game, and he's not a winger. I mean, he's struggled there on the wing for most of the season leading up to this one. So I love that we were able to rest guys. Ugarte didn't have to play the full game, even though he hasn't got a bunch of minutes lately anyway. But seeing Barcola, Mbappe, Marquinhos, Warren Zaire-Emery, none of those guys played any sort of significant minutes. We should be really fresh for the Sociedad match. And so this was basically exactly what we needed. Coming into the match, and I saw the lineup, I was thinking, I'll take a point from this game. Like, I'll be okay if we draw. Let's try to not lose because we're at home, but I'll take a draw. And so to come out and play like that, especially after allowing the first goal, I can't say anything bad about the team, honestly. Just loved it.
Yeah, and I got to say one thing I didn't like was that first goal. I mean, Beraldo just got absolutely cooked there in the corner, and it was just kind of sloppy defending from PSG. The ball bounced around, and it was, it was a good goal from Lille, but we really should have done better. And Beraldo, I don't know if he thinks that maybe he's better than he is, or maybe the competition isn't. I don't know what he's thinking, but sometimes he has these lapses in judgment, and it's a little worrisome. But he was able to kind of rebound from that, and he had some good moments. So you can't be too hard on him. But I really didn't like him getting beat like that, against the touchline there. He really shouldn't be getting beat in the corner. He should have done better. So I didn't like that. I love Ugarte. He did get a yellow card, but we need him if we're going to do well in the Champions League. And he's had about a month or so where he just really has fallen off. If we can get him back to where he was at the beginning of the season, that's going to be really, really good for PSG going into the Champions League knockout rounds. Ramos, again, scoring a poacher's goal. You love to see that little tap in there. Didn't have too much work to do, but he's in the right position. So I love to see that. And I just got to touch on Barcola, who came on. This kid is so special. I've not seen a single defender who can stop him. He can beat anyone one-on-one. His just ability to just get around a defender and create and do something dangerous. It's very similar to what Dembélé does. And they create so many chances that with our attack, if we could just get a couple goals from them and we could convert those chances, we're going to be a really hard out in the Champions League. So I love to see that from the youngster. I mean, he is along with Warren Zaire-Emery and Xavi Simons, future of PSG. So I love seeing that. Very exciting. Eddie, let's go back to you, because one thing in the match against Brest, I think it was, I had tweeted out, I said, I don't know if it's the rain or what, but man, it seems like PSG has shifted into another gear here lately, where the attack is performing really well. Ethan, you mentioned Kolo Muani. He's elevated his play. We talked about Ugarte. How would you rate this squad right now going into the Champions League knockout stage next week? How do you rate the whole team coming together in the way they're performing right now? Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10.
I think I'd go with 8. I think I'd go with an 8. Pretty confident. I mean, the Brest game, the one before that, we played them like twice in like 3 weeks. The one where it was 0-0, right? Or not 0-0. I mean 2-2. That one showed some worrying signs where PSG were up 2-0, and then Brest comes out in the second half and finds the 2 goals to leave Paris with at least a draw there. So there were some worrying signs there. Again, PSG went up against Brest in the Coupe de France. When they had a lead, kind of was worried a little bit to see what was going to transpire there. But I think whatever mistakes they made in that, the league game, they kind of corrected them and didn't fall apart. And even though Brest did score one goal, and that's where I was like, okay, here we go again there. But they held on. They added the insurance goal, so it was good to see. Again, they were able to learn from mistakes. I don't know, what went on in the dressing room when they were up 2-0 again, but it was good to see that. But there's still some worrying signs there from that game against Brest. But I think Brest has had their number, even the win, last year, or earlier in the season, where it was 3-2, and they won because of an Mbappe penalty kick. I think just Brest has their number, but those are the games where you can see some of PSG's flaws. But again, I like that they're able to recognize whatever mistakes they've made, and even if they're put in the same situation again, they're able to at least get through it. But yeah, I'm pretty confident this game against, like I said, against Leo. Seeing them handle adversity without Mbappe is encouraging. So for me, I'm a little bit more confident than most might be against Real Sociedad coming in on Wednesday.
Yeah, and you mentioned Brest. I mean, they're a pretty good side right now in third place in Ligue 1, so they would qualify for the Champions League. Ethan, in 2024, since the calendar turned, PSG, they haven't, as I'm looking through, they haven't lost. They just had that one draw, as Eddie mentioned, against Brest 2-2 at the Parc, but they made up for that, got a little revenge in the Coupe de France by winning 3-1. PSG, they're scoring goals, they're winning, they're performing well, the attack is doing well. How do you kind of sum up this squad? Is this about as good as you could have in a PSG squad right now? I mean, we've seen in seasons past, Neymar goes down, or there's some kind of other injury, or we're losing games we shouldn't. When you look at the landscape, this is a damn good PSG team, and probably performing better than what we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, this team, I got a good feeling about this one compared to last season's. Like you said, as long as Mbappe is at 100% on Wednesday, then no one has been overloaded with minutes lately. So that's good to see. A couple stats that has me pretty confident for the match. So we're 16 games unbeaten now. We haven't lost since early November. Like you said, we haven't lost yet this year, just like the one draw. Stade Brest seemed to play really well against us. If they'd scored a second goal, last game previously to this one, that would have been the third time that they'd come back down 2-0 against us this season. But we were able to thwart that and get the win. I'll also say Real Sociedad are not in good form right now. Like I mentioned, they're the only La Liga team that I follow consistently. I've been to San Sebastian, I've been to the stadium, so and Boise has a big Basque population, so they're the only team I follow there. So I watched most of their games. This morning, they lost to Osasuna, I think, a Basque rival. I think it was against Osasuna. It was. I mean, that was pretty early this morning, but they have not scored in their last 4 games. Their defense has been very good. They've only allowed 1 goal. I mean, they had 3 straight 0-0 draws before today.
Ooh, yeah, I'm looking at the results. Osasuna beat them 1-0.
That's today, yeah.
Before that, scoreless draw against Mallorca in the Copa del Rey. Another scoreless draw against Girona.
And then another scoreless. Yeah, there's
another one against Rayo Vallecano.
Exactly. And then before that, they beaten Celta Vigo twice. Celta Vigo's pretty bad. So they're not coming into good form. The thing is, if we can get... It's just a weird thing thinking that we don't keep a lot of clean sheets. I think we've kept 3 clean sheets in our last 17 games. But we've scored 2 goals in, I think, our last 9 or 10. So the game on Wednesday will be really interesting. If we can keep a clean sheet, which recent history would tell us that we probably won't, then we're in a good spot. But on the other hand, Real Sociedad, they can't put the ball in the back of the net right now. So it's a weird matchup of a very strong offense going up against a very strong defense, and then likewise, currently a weak offense from Sociedad against our weaker defense. So I'm interested to see how it'll go. If the Parc the Parc will be rocking. The Parc was also, maybe it was just from TV, but it felt really loud today, at least on my end. But if the Parc is rocking, if we've got our best lineup, I think if Luis Enrique sets out with the right game plan. If we take Real Sociedad while they're weak right now and we put 2 or 3 goals past them, then we could almost maybe put away this tie in the first leg. But yeah, it'll be really interesting just based on the current form of each team. And our attack going against their defense, that'll be very interesting. I really don't know how that'll go.
Excellent. You kind of hinted at it. We're going to get to Real Sociedad here in just a second. We're going to talk about maybe a lineup we think we'll see. But just to wrap up, PSG defeat Lille 3-1. So that puts PSG on 50 points. It's 11 more than second place Nice. Brest is in third, 36 points. So the league is looking really, really good. And we talked about PSG beating Brest in the Coupe de France. So they advanced to the next round in that tournament, something we haven't won in a few years. So everything is really clicking for PSG domestically, but let's switch to European football and talk about PSG Real Sociedad. So what I thought would be interesting is if I go through and I go position by position who I would start, and if either one of you have an objection, just jump in here, shout me down, and tell me why that player shouldn't be starting. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. In goal, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Got a rest today. Any issue with him in goal?
No, he should start.
No.
That's a pretty easy one. All right. Right back, I've got Hakimi. Center backs, I've got Marquinhos. And I don't love it, but I think you got to go Danilo Pereira. And then at left back, I would go with Lucas Hernandez. Any issue with that back four? Would you do anything different?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
You're wow.
Right.
Okay. All right. No changes there.
Yeah, I mean, if Beraldo would have had a better game, if he didn't have that, I would have maybe made the case. But after seeing that, no, I think I'd go conservative here and go with the veterans here.
Yeah, and I think Danilo, he's not the best on the ball, but he's pretty good at it because he's mostly played as a defensive midfielder in his career. And I think our defenders being good on the ball is, I think, going to be key in Sociedad with their heavy press.
And I should have probably said that I'm going with a 4-3-3 formation. So my midfielders, with our Ugarte's performance today, I've got to put him in there. Vitinha, I've learned my lesson, or at least I hope Luis Enrique's learned his lesson. You don't bench Vitinha in these Champions League games because he comes up with something special. And then you got to put Warren Zaire-Emery. Those are going to be my 3 midfielders. Any issue with those?
Not a man.
No. All right. Let's move to the attack. I'm going to go with Mbappé on the left wing. We'll go Kolo Muani at striker. Dembele on the right wing. As much as I love Barcola, I think bringing him off the bench as like a super sub, he'd be probably my first one off the bench if we needed a goal. But Mbappé, Kolo Muani, Dembele, those are my front 3. Any issue there?
I'd personally go Barcola, Mbappe, and Dembele. I know that Mbappe is essentially a wide forward. He's not playing as a true 9, but the way that he can, just because Barcola and Dembele seem to be, especially Dembele, seem to be very good at cutting inside from the wing, using that kind of wider space on the edge of the box or outside of the box. I just think the spacing there and the tactical profiles of all those guys, I'd personally go Barcola, Mbappe, and Dembele. But I would love to see Asensio come on for Dembele if he's struggling, and then you could maybe kind of get funky with it or move Dembele to 10 like we saw today and take out Barcola for maybe Kolo Muani, and then you've got Dembele, and then you've got 2 wide forwards with Mbappe and Kolo Muani up top. But yeah, I go Barcola, Mbappe, Dembele.
And I wouldn't be upset if I saw Barcola in there. Eddie, what are your thoughts on Marco Asensio? He had a decent game today, but I mean, he's had a really good stretch of form here. He's scoring goals, assisting. Do you think Asensio has earned the right to start or maybe the first one off the bench?
I'd go with the first one off the bench. I feel like maybe you just need some bullets in the chamber in terms of like someone coming off the bench that can provide a spark. I feel like he can give it. I'm not too opposed of the lineup. I would go with Barcola. I'd just ride his hot hand right now, but like you said, or I wouldn't be upset if that was the formation either. I get you're thinking getting someone like Barcola. You saw it against Leo, came off the bench, boom, assist to Kolo Muani. So I think having Asensio and Barcola as breaking the glass and needing some extra offense is a good way to go. But either way, I'm good with it.
And maybe you guys can enlighten me. And Eddie, I know you write a lot. Nuno Mendes, is he going to be available for this match? Probably. I mean, he didn't play against Lille, so I wouldn't start him. But is he going to be an option off the bench against Real Sociedad?
I mean, he's training. You
Yeah.
see the videos, you see the pictures. I see the updates that he's training. Other than that, I'm not. I mean, from the last couple of Luis Enrique press conferences he's given, he says he's training, everything's going well, but that's all he says. He doesn't say, oh, so he doesn't set, or nobody sets like an exact date for when he's going to return. I'm assuming they said early spring around that time. I'm assuming maybe the second leg against Real Sociedad, maybe, but other than that, I mean. But also, I don't know if you want to throw him right off the gate into a Champions League tie. But I'm assuming, if PSG advanced to the quarterfinals, he'd be there. That if not, then I don't know. I don't know what's going on other than that.
Yeah, because what would be nice if once he's able to come back, then you could move Lucas Hernandez is more of a center back and pair him with Marquinhos, and maybe move Danilo out and have him on the bench. But it gives you a little bit more flexibility defensively, which I think PSG need. Ethan, let's get you back in here because I want to know what is going to be Luis Enrique's tactic. Is he going to say, balls to the wall, PSG, I want goals. We need to score 4 or 5. Let's blow these guys away. Let's end this in the first leg? Or is he going to be a little bit more, let's pull things back. Let's see how things go. Let's not go too crazy. Let's not leave too many gaps at the back. What do you think the strategy is going to be?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see something like what we saw against Newcastle when we played them away. Their first Champions League game at St. James Park in 20 years. I don't think we're going to get that sort of aggressiveness, which backfired and got us, killed in that game. But we're not going to just sit back either. I'd be very surprised if we kind of just went for a 1-0 win because as loud as the Parc can be, the Anoeta at Sociedad can be just as loud. I mean, it's one of the better atmospheres in Europe. I think what I hope Luis Enrique realizes, he'll know this, it's just whether he plays into it or not, is that Real Sociedad's 2 left backs, Kieran Tierney and can't remember the other guy. The other guy tore his ACL in January, but they're going to be on their 3rd string left back for this game. We think it's maybe bad having to play Lucas Hernandez at left back. No, they're going to be on their 3rd string left back. And in the matches I've watched since their 2nd string guy tore his ACL, I have not been impressed with him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But so that's why I really want to see Dembélé on the right wing. This could be a Dembélé signature game. If it would not surprise me if we crush them and we win big, it wouldn't surprise me if he had a goal and 2 assists. So I think that's something we got to take advantage of. I would love to see him and Mbappé just try and, kind of switch roles and maybe get, Dembele's a 10. He'll play a little bit inside, get Mbappé on the right wing, even though he's not normally on the right wing, just to have all this speed, just to absolutely abuse that left back that's going to be there, assuming they play with their normal 4 at the back. That's something I want to see us take advantage of if they do it. Thing is, if they play with 3 at the back, then their wing backs, they could, then there's just going to be room on the wings as soon as they try and attack and bring guys forward. If we counterattack, there's going to be room on the wings. It'll be a little tough to beat them getting a ball in the box with 3 center backs there, likely, plus other players. But it's either going to be we should be able to cook their left back, or if they don't play with a true left back, if they play with wing backs or just 3 at the back, then there's going to be plenty of room on either wing. So either way, I feel like this needs to be a Dembélé masterclass. And if it is, then I think we're going to probably cruise to a win or at least get 3 goals.
I like it. We'll get your official prediction here in a second. Eddie, I want to ask you, Ethan mentioned the match away at Newcastle, which was just a debacle. But then we thought, oh, surely once Newcastle comes to the Park, we'll crush them. Well, that wasn't the case. We could have very easily, lost that game and not even been in the knockout stage. It's been a little while since PSG have had a really good performance in the Champions League, and probably match day one against Dortmund. I think that's probably the best performance. So now you've got the knockout stage. You've got Real Sociedad coming to town. They're not in the greatest of form. What would be your strategy, knowing that there is a little bit of issue with this PSG team going away? That's going to be a raucous atmosphere at Real Sociedad. So what would be your strategy here next week against Real Sociedad at the Park?
I think they gotta be aggressive. I know it's cliche, but I mean, take advantage of the home crowd. That they performed well at home, barring that Newcastle game for the most part. They played well against AC Milan at home. They played well against Dortmund at home. They didn't do so well against Newcastle, but if they can get 2-3 goal advantage heading back to Spain in March, I think that's going to be the case. I think they got to take advantage of the injuries that Sociedad is facing. They got to right now this would be the time to pull out a 3-1, 3-0 type of win that they've done in the past. So yeah, to me it's try to be aggressive, try to exploit Sociedad's weaknesses, because of injuries that they're facing. So right now it's that would be my just blunt approach.
Absolutely, I'm with you, and I think this team's identity is attacking. And if you try to kind of pull them back a little bit and rein them in, I think that's when the nerves can start settling in. I think that's when they can absorb some pressure, and maybe there's a mistake at the back with our defense, which is known to happen. I think you've got to let, whether it's Barcola, Dembele, Mbappe, you have to just let them do their thing. And I want to see wave after wave after wave of attack. I want it to be clear from anyone. If this is the first match that someone's ever watched and this is the first football match, I want it to be obvious. PSG is miles ahead of Real Sociedad. That's the way that I think PSG has to play. Not reckless, but technically perfect. I want really crisp passing. I want lots of movement, pressing, tracking back. This needs to be like what you would have saw from Manchester City last season when they made their run. This needs to be, PSG is better on paper. They are the better team. They're at home. They're in great form. Everyone's healthy and rested. Let's blow the doors off of Real Sociedad. That has to be the strategy. So with that said, Ethan, let's go back to you. Give me a prediction for this match next week.
Yeah, for the first leg.
Just for the first leg. What do you think the score is going to be?
I'm gonna go 2-1 for us.
Ooh, close one.
Yeah,
okay. I thought you'd go more.
I just haven't loved. I mean, the attack is doing well, but it doesn't feel like they're totally clinical right now. And although Sociedad haven't allowed a goal in a bit, they haven't played an attack as good as us recently. I just don't see us blowing the doors off that good defense, and I also don't see us keeping a clean sheet, but I don't see us getting blown out. So I'm going to go 2-1 for us.
That's interesting. Donnarumma, he didn't play today, but he's been in pretty good form. I think he's going to be up for making a few good saves. Eddie, what is your prediction just for the match at home against Real Sociedad?
I'd go 3-1. Same concerns about the defense, but I feel like they'll pull out a performance like they get against Dortmund and get at least 2 or 3 goals. But I think they'll get 3 for a 3-1 win.
See, my brain is telling me 3-0 to PSG, but then that worries me for the return leg because I guess this is just the Barcelona match coming back to haunt me. Like, I worry about having a big lead and then going to Spain and trying to defend that and maybe getting a little nervous. So I'm worried. But I'm going to stick with a 3-0 win for PSG. I don't think Real Sociedad are going to score. I think there's just going to be too much PSG to handle for them. So excellent. At the end of the day, whatever it is, we've all got PSG winning and hopefully winning comfortably. So that's good. Guys, let's switch gears a little bit to some off-the-pitch news. Within the past week or so, I don't remember the exact date, but I think it was Les Parisiens. They had reported that Kylian Mbappé will be joining Real Madrid this summer once his contract expires at PSG. Eddie, you've been all over this, covering this story. So I want to get your initial reaction to the news and what do you really think is going on behind the scenes? If you want to touch on the way the media is covering this, I'd love to hear that as well.
Man, it's been wild because what's funny is that there'll be news that Mbappe is going to Real Madrid, whether it's Les Parisiens. I think you saw Julian Laurence share out that information. Food Mercado share that information. I think those have been like the three marquee outlets that have said he's going. It's outside of Spain. I'm going. Obviously Spanish. There's some Spanish news, but I'm talking about like main ones. Those have been like the three that's reported. But then what's funny is that like hours later they'll be like, there's no, you'll see Fabrizio Romano, Ben Jacobs, L'Equipe. I think they debunked the one if I'm not mistaken. But you'll see a report say he's going to Real Madrid, and then like 2 or 3 hours later there'll be another report that says there's no decision that's been made. So that's what's been funny about this saga in terms of like the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's the second one because it was like in January there were reports Real Madrid wants to know by the 14th or 15th, and he is gonna go, and then like you said, it's always debunked. Like someone comes out, like they shoot their shot, he's going, and then it's always debunked.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm not part of media, or I don't write articles like Eddie does. So Eddie would have a lot better idea of this, but I guess I can kind of give a perspective as someone totally on the outside. It's just, it doesn't, if you're a PSG fan, just none of it's believable. We're waiting to hear these, when we see these reports, he's decided to join Real Madrid. We look at who posted it, and I see Le Parisien, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, next, skip. The crazy thing is that Bleacher Report and ESPN here in the U.S. ran with that story from a week or two ago, and
I was watching Pardon the Interruption, and it was like in the lead, like the ticker at the bottom, and it was like Mbappe agrees to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, and it's like not even true. Like he might go. Yeah. It hasn't been decided now, I promise. There's no way the guy's going to decide before March 5th. He's going to wait until we're on to the next round of the Champions League or out of the Champions League. And so, all my buddies that they casually follow football here, they all message me like, oh, dude, like, are you so sad? Or, we kind of roast each other a good amount. So the guy's like, man, like PSG is so screwed. And I'm like, guys, I don't know how to tell you this other than writing an essay, but football media in Europe is so much more unreliable than basketball or American football media here. You don't see on Twitter, you don't see Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter missing on hardly any news.
Wojnarowski, if he says there's a trade in the NBA, you can take it to the bank.
That's my thing.
It's happening.
Woj or Shams for the NBA as well. Like, they don't miss. And so I feel like all my American friends, they're so programmed to that when they see a report like that, they just assume it's true. And none of them know that European football media is just nowhere near as reliable. So it's just something that kind of takes getting used to when you start watching the sport. But it's like I said, I don't think we're going to know until at least after March 5th. Mbappe, I'd be shocked if he really even decided by March 5th, because of course the image rights and his image as a whole is important to him. But ultimately he's one of his main things is he's trying to create a legacy. And if he truly believes he can win a Champions League here at PSG soon rather than later, if he doesn't feel this team can win it in the next 2-3 years, he's probably not going to wait around. But if he feels that this team legitimately has a shot, then I think he's going to stay, especially because, and this could be speculation, but the Real Madrid lineup that he'd be at, he's not a true 9, and Ancelotti's not dumb, obviously, but he's not going to be on the left wing. I just don't see him selling Vinicius. And if they did, that'd be kind of dumb of them, I think. So I feel like things are a little more clear for him here. He knows he's got full image rights if he wants it. He can be the biggest player in this league. I mean, he'd be the biggest player in any league he goes to, but he's truly the face of Liga, not competing with anyone. He's in his hometown city. And I just think it feels a little more clear for him at PSG, which doesn't mean he's going to stay, but it's something he's got to be considering. So,
Eddie, I want to go back to you. I want to get your reaction. We were kind of talking about this before we started recording, but after the Real Madrid match against Girona, where they had won, all the Spanish media were asking Ancelotti about Mbappe, and he said, quote, "You keep asking me about a player who plays for another team. We already have the best players in the world here." So what is your reaction to that?
it's if they're asking Ancelotti, these questions, I think you're gonna have Spanish media, and I told you this off air, you're gonna have Spanish media coming over here to Paris on Wednesday, and they're gonna be asking about Mbappe, whether Luis Enrique, I don't think he's gonna entertain him. In the past, any reports or rumors about Mbappe's decision, I think he's shot it down really quickly, and I'm pretty sure he knows the Spanish media. So, but they're still going to try. They're going to ask. Maybe you get two reporters, like I said, you get two reporters actually trying to cover the game from Spain, asking about the X's and O's about Real Sociedad and all that. But I feel like you're going to have the Marcas, the IS, the Chiringuitos of the world coming to Paris on Wednesday, just trying to poke and ask about Mbappe. But I wanted to touch on Ethan's point too about just the way in football there's a watch, there's those shams and all that. I feel like that's you don't get that in world football. I mean, you get the Romanos of the world, but even then they're not the best at giving 100% concrete news. I mean, he whiffed on the Messi remaining at PSG after the World Cup. So even he's prone to mistakes. So yeah, it's just gonna be. I feel like this week is gonna be kind of wild in terms of Mbappe, like rumors from the Spanish media.
And I think what most people need to understand is that Mbappe doesn't need the media. He has more followers on social media than all of them. He can put out his own message on what he's doing, or he can organize his own interview and put it out on
Yeah,
his
and you
own
know what?
channels.
Sorry to cut you off,
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
I think he's gonna do an Otani, like somebody who I think he's going to announce his decision on social media.
Shohei Ohtani, who's a baseball player, just to give a little.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know about baseball, he announced his decision to go to Dodgers for on his Instagram. Nobody had the inside details. I mean, I was as an Angels fan, I'm following whatever was going. I mean, I knew he was leaving, but I was just following the media. And then there was, I don't know, remember one, I think he worked from MLB Network. I don't know what outlet, but he was saying that Otani was on his way to Toronto. And he got community noted and said that no, Otani's in his.
Was that Rosenthal, I think?
Maybe? No, it was somebody for the MLB Network. I forget his name, but he said that he was on his way to Toronto to sign with the Blue Jays. Turns out Otani was in Southern California, nowhere near. So I feel like it's going to be like this. I think, and Mbappe likes to have control over his message. I think he's going to announce it, whether it's a Players Tribune or a post on Instagram, or I don't know how he's going to do it, but I think the message is going to come from him. It's not going to come from a reporter.
Yeah, and I think we're not going to hear anything concrete while PSG are still in the Champions League. Like, I think that's Mbappe's sole focus, and he's not going to let anything leak. Hopefully we go to the final, but let's say that doesn't happen. Then I think before PSG's last home match, I think the agreement is Mbappe will let Nasser know. And so I think it's Toulouse on May 11th. I think that's last PSG home match. And I think it's either going to be Mbappe holding another jersey with a year on the back, or it's going to be a celebratory kind of lap of honor type deal, and he says goodbye to everyone at the park. So we don't know, but I think that's when we'll probably know. But for right now, while we're in the thick of it, going after 3 titles right now, nothing. And anything, if you hear anything in the media, if you're listening to this, you're a PSG supporter, just don't believe it. It's just for clicks. It's just for notoriety and followers on social media. So just don't believe it. Don't believe what you read right now, kids. Wait till later, because Mbappe, he will let us all know. So let's just be patient there. Guys, I've got 2 more topics for you. We can go through them quickly here. I want to get your thoughts on, Ethan, we can start with you on this one. I want to get your feelings on PSG potentially or likely leaving the Parc des Princes. It was announced that the Paris City Council, they reaffirmed that the stadium would not be sold to PSG. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think PSG want to do some renovations. They want to expand it, and they can't really do it because they don't own it, and no one will sell it to them. So now they're saying, fine, and we're walking away. We'll explore other options. So correct any of that if I'm wrong, and then give your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, everything you said I think was right, and it's a very complex issue, of course. It's not just a sporting or an economic issue, but it's political as well. I think that Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, along with the Paris City Council, I think part of their decision, and I could just be speculating, but I think a part of their decision to not sell it is that they don't want a historic stadium like that in their eyes, being owned by Qatar. I think that's the big thing. My response to that would be, can we not just set up some sort of supporters trust where the supporters or something something like that owns the stadium, so that it's never even in any sense under the hands of Qatar, because that's the way they see it. But I think it would be really tragic if we left. I mean, we could expand that stadium to probably 60,000. I think that'd be a great size stadium. I don't want something huge like Camp Nou, which is $100,000. That's a bit much, and it can kind of kill the viewing experience. But a 60,000 seat Parc de France, I think, would be perfect. But I just don't know if it'll happen. I know we heard a couple rumors this week, and I think they are truly just rumors, maybe to try and put pressure on the city council to sell. But there was rumors that we were going to buy Paris FC Stadium in Southeast Paris, that we were going to buy La Défense Arena, which is in, it's in La Défense. That's literally the area of town that it's called. And that's in Northwest Paris. Or that we could buy the Stade Jean-Bouin right across the street from the Parc. It's even the same building where the club shop currently is. I can't see us buying any of those, just because the other two locations, so I think the rugby team, in their arena in La Défense doesn't make a lot of sense. Neither does Paris FC's. That stadium's really small. And of course, it would be with the intent to renovate. I just can't see. I think if we're going to do either of those, and any three of those, it'd be buying the Stade Jean-Bouin right across the street and renovating it. But it's only 20,000 seater right now. The thing is, the highway still runs under. You guys have both been to the Parc. There's the highway that runs under the eastern side of the Parc de France.
Yep.
It still technically hits Stade Jean-Bouin as well. Not as much as the Parc, but I think that, plus it's in a really packed residential area. It's on the very western edge of Paris city limits. I think that makes it very tough to build and renovate. So I just don't think any of those are really feasible. But if we were going to do it, then if it was possible to easily buy the Stade Jean-Bouin and renovate it to 55,000 or 60,000, if that was we could go off seamlessly, then I think perfect. Let's do that, because we're basically at the same location as the Parc de France, just in the building right next door. I just don't think either of those will happen. The other thing is that we heard all these rumors in the winter and the fall that if we left, that they'd be looking for lots or pieces of land for stadiums far outside the city. One out near Poissy, which is where the current training center is. It's just all those situations. Any of these plots of land that we're hearing that are far outside the city, I don't want us to pull a Chicago fire on ourselves. And we have a city in the downtown middle of the city, and then we move out to the middle of nowhere, and now we don't get any people at the games. So I want to avoid that, and I just use Chicago fire because I feel like it's the most prominent example here in the U.S. as far as with football. But I just don't want to see us buy some plot of land outside of the city. And I mean, there's like barely any public transportation out there, which that's crucial to a city like Paris, where not many people own cars. And it would kind of kill a part of the soul of the club. I feel like would leave if we did some sort of move like that. So I don't know. I'm losing faith that we'll ever be able to stay at the Parc. And I just don't quite get why. I don't know if you guys saw the banners today during the match, but the Ultras put up banners about how something about the greed of politicians, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly what it said in French, but they were roasting the city council and Anne Hidalgo for not wanting to sell the Parc, reportedly. And I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of tragic if we left, but it is crucial at the same time that we own our own stadium. So we can't keep doing this thing where we're renting. I mean, you look at clubs like Tottenham, and a club like Tottenham is not in Europe hardly ever. They own their stadium and they host NFL games, and PSG has the potential to have a stadium just like that. and just bring in, I mean, the Parc already generates massive amount of revenue, second most in the world. And we could make that first by a country mile. Just given, Paris the city, PSG the club is well known, as well as the location. So I know I kind of went on long about this point, but it's complicated. Obviously, we all want to see them stay at the Parc, but owning their own stadium, I think, is needed. But I think it would be an absolute travesty if we built a stadium outside of Paris city limits.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where it would need to go. Paris is so condensed. It's so difficult to build. I think, it's a trend that we're seeing here in America. A lot of teams leaving the city. You mentioned Chicago Fire, but I think, in NBA, the Washington Wizards are moving to Virginia. They're moving out of the district. The Atlanta Braves, the baseball team, they've moved from Atlanta out to the suburbs. So you're seeing a lot of these sports teams around the world. They want bigger stadiums. They want to have these entertainment districts, and you can't really do that in a highly condensed, city. It's hard to build, hard to get approvals and all that. So they're moving out. So it seems like a little bit of that is what's going on, and it would be a shame. You're at the Parc, you can kind of see the Eiffel Tower, and it's got that unique shape to it. And also, don't forget the sound that the stadium creates. Like that is the acoustics is not something that's easy to replicate. So you would hate to go out and sure, maybe you could pack in 20,000 more people, but are you losing that sound? When you're there and you hear a goal and you hear that roar from the fans, that's something that's unique to the Parc. And so I'd hate for them to leave, but they do need their own stadium. You mentioned NFL. I mean, I saw that they're going to Spain to play. You mentioned Tottenham. Imagine if PSG owned their own stadium. Could you have NFL coming to Paris? How amazing would that be? So I see it from both sides, so it's frustrating. Eddie, jump in here. Do you have any thoughts on PSG's stadium situation and ultimately what you think might happen?
No, I think if you're thinking about QSI, I think they want to grow the brand. Like you just mentioned, they probably want to host these NFL events now that NFL's in Germany. I think they're going to go to Spain next year, if I'm not mistaken, or they're planning to go to Spain. So
Yeah, they're going to be in
yeah,
Spain.
so
Yeah.
I think PSG in terms of like trying to connect more like just by themselves with the American market. I feel like that might be holding them back too. So I think holding those types of events where they can put themselves on display to an American audience, I think that's probably another reason why they might want to just own their own stadium and have it state of the art and everything like that, because you're starting to see a lot of stadiums built around European football. I think Everton's going to have a new stadium. You mentioned Tottenham has a new stadium. Now it's going to be new. Bernabeu's renovated, all that stuff. So you're starting to see some of these, prominent clubs have their own, state of the art stadiums, and I feel like maybe PSG feels like okay, it's time to catch up with these teams and have our own something similar to like that, where like I said, they can probably host these NFL events or these other events that would cater to an American audience too.
As long as they got they have room in the press box for Eddie. That's all we ask for if they build a new stadium. Let's see. We got one more topic. It's kind of a fun topic. The story came out, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. The blue cards. We've got red cards. We've got yellow cards. They're coming out with blue cards, and that's going to be for a player maybe dissent or mouthing off or whatever, and you're going to be put in the sin bin for about 10 minutes to cool off, kind of like Eddie. I know you're a hockey fan. It's kind of like the penalty box. If you commit a penalty, you got to sit in the box for 2 to 5 minutes, whatever it might be. Eddie, let's get your thoughts on this. Are the blue cards in the sin bin, are they good for the game, bad for the game? What do you think?
Um,
And I also should say these aren't coming down the pipeline like
No, they're
right now. They're not going to be in
experimenting.
the Euros. Yeah,
It's something they're experimenting with. It's like again, this is going to be an American topic, right? Or what I'm going to say right now. It's like when MLB decides to make the bases bigger, or do a pitch clock. They'll do it in the minor leagues. If it works, they'll bring it up to the big leagues. I feel like that's how it's going to be. They're gonna mess with it somewhere in the lower levels and see if it
yeah.
works. If it not, then it's going to die off. But
Like the pitch clock,
yeah,
making the pitchers
yeah,
move faster.
but I mean,
Yep, things like that.
it would be like you said, it would be similar to hockey when you either get a 2-minute penalty for tripping, or high sticking, or a 5-minute major for boarding or for fighting or something like that. I feel like it's gonna be funny. Well, I mean, it would be fun to see how much it would be, for a referee, like how many minutes you have to go off for, using a referee, verbally. Whether, I think we saw it in the Leo game. Fonseca got a yellow card for mouthing off to the official. I feel like if there was a blue card, he would have been given a blue card there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's needed. But like you said, it's going to be similar to hockey, what we see there. But I don't think it's needed. I think it's just you're adding already more unnecessary things when there has to be VAR, improve VAR. Even though that's needed, but it needs to be improved. But yeah, I feel like this would be an excessive addition, whether it's FIFA or UEFA doing this. But yeah, this would be too much. I think this is just one of those goofy rumors you see every now and then.
I like it. Ethan, same question to you. What do you think about it? And also, would Marco Verratti be the most sin-binned player in Europe if he was still at PSG?
Yeah, to answer the Verratti question first, no, it'd be Sergio Ramos, but Verratti would be second. No, but it's a bit weird. I'm not the biggest hockey guy. I'm a casual LA Kings fan, being from California. I watch, I don't know, a handful of games.
Luc Robitaille.
Yeah, Robitaille. Yeah,
Gretzky.
yeah. And then we got our current legend there, Kopitar and Drew Doughty, all those guys. Yeah, got rid of Jonathan Quick last year. That was sad. But yeah, so I'm not the biggest hockey guy. But I agree with what Eddie said. It feels a bit excessive. If we didn't have yellow cards, if yellow cards didn't exist, then I think, yeah, sure, that'd be great, because we wouldn't have been conditioned to how yellow cards work all this time. And so I think, yeah, blue card, that's a pretty good idea. It's like a mini red card. But the fact that yellow cards work just fine, I think it's a bit much. So especially the fact that it'd be just the timing of the way that hockey and football are both pretty free flowing sports, but the style and the method of how the game is played, I just feel like it wouldn't quite translate to football as well as it does hockey. So I don't have any much more to say on it than that, but it's as what Rain Jackson from American Idol would say. It's a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me, dog. I've gone back and forth on it. Initially, I hated it, but then I'm also like, I hate that teams can get a penalty and ultimately likely a goal if someone kicks the ball and it hits their hand that's dangling by their side or something. Like, I feel like right now there's such harsh penalties for things that aren't that egregious that maybe we do need some like middle ground. So like, let's say you tackle a player in the box, but he's like running away from the goal and he's like right on the edge. Like, I don't feel like that should be a penalty. The guy's clearly not trying to score. So maybe you like sin bin that person for 5 minutes or something like that. But ultimately, I got to see it in action. That's my two thoughts. All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour. Thank you so much for joining. Eddie, do you have any last thoughts? Anything we didn't cover? Anything you want to get off your chest before we let you run?
No, I mean, just the usual. Follow or check out the website. That's where I found all my, where all the writing stuff, all the new stuff. I try to be on top of everything. One man band here, trying to help you out, cover the team. But yeah, just check out the website. And anything else, you can follow me on Twitter at _ Eddie Razo.
Yes.
Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Love it. And Ethan, anything we didn't touch on? Anything you want to get off your chest before we let you run?
Yeah, I think nothing other than, good start to what's going to be the toughest stretch of games in the season. February through mid-March is that's going to make or break the season. If we come out of that looking real strong, we will be in the Coupe de France semifinals. We'll have basically already locked up Liga, and we'll be in the Champions League quarterfinals. So that's the potential to do all that is right there in front of us. So yeah, it's a good start to this sort of tough window, and I'm looking forward to the future, and also go Niners for tomorrow.
Everything's in front of PSG right now. The team is playing well. Very optimistic right now. We gave our predictions. Exciting time. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. Leave us a review if you can. And also, we're over on Substack where we're over, I think, 4,000 subscribers. So go over there. We've got some premium articles if you want to check those out as well. And then, of course, you can always follow me at PSG Talk. All right, thanks for listening. Bye for now.